Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the 29 Palms Planning Commission for October 17th, 2023 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Garcia, will you please lead us?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cure?
Here.
Commissioner Garcia?
Here.
Commissioner Pahana?
Here.
Vice Chair Walker?
Here.
Chair Cruchet? All present?
Thank you. Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going to the city website and clicking on the meeting agendas link. Now is the time for public comments. This is the time for the public to address the Planning Commission on issues within the jurisdiction of the Commission that are not on this agenda. All comments are to be directed to the Chair of the Commission and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. There is a time limit of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out name, address slips, and give them to the Planning Commission Secretary. The Planning Commission is prohibited by the Brown Act, state law, from taking action or discussing at length items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of the item on this agenda. So, do I have anybody? Do we have anybody? Then I now close public comments. Okay, commission comments and reports of meetings. Why don't we start at your end, Jessica? We'll move right on.
All right. I didn't attend any meetings.
Okay.
I have not attended any meetings since our last.
I did, on Saturday, I attended the Morongo Basin Healthcare Fair. They were expecting maybe 200 people. They got over 300, so it was well attended. I went and had my blood pressure checked, and thank God I'm on medication. It's down, okay. So, but I think a lot of information got out, and I think it was a good event. That's all I had.
I went to the opening day of Pioneer Days. That was quite fun. I enjoyed it. There was a pretty good, decent showing, so it was nice to see people out.
I also attended the healthcare event and got my blood pressure checked. So. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Consent calendar. Oh, excuse me. Consent calendar, approval of the Planning Commission minutes for October 3rd, 2023. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Okay, I have a motion,
I'll second.
and Cure has given me a second.
Leslie, opposite.
Huh?
She.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was the other way. Okay, sorry. Okay, did you get it straight? Yes. Okay. LP.
Commissioner Cure?
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia?
Aye.
Commissioner Pahana?
Aye.
Vice Chair Walker?
Aye.
Chair Cruchet?
Aye.
Approved?
Okay, we have no items removed from the consent calendar for discussion. We move on to our public hearings, and our first one is Article 3, permitting process. At this time, I turn it over to staff for the briefing.
All right, Mr. Chair, this is the first of probably two public hearings on this particular section because it's a very lengthy section. And so once it moves forward, our intention is once the decisions were made on the entire section, then we'll move all of it forward to the City Council at once. Article 3 has to do with processes of planning permits, not building permits and grading permits, but planning permits. And this is another one of the long line of cleanups we've been trying to do, all year. We have the red line strikeout version of the ordinance ready to review if the commission wishes to go into particular detail on any discussion. But we've got several cleanups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 particular sections that are consistency in language, and clarification of process. Again, we have the ordinance handy, if we need to go over it in more detail. In the interest of simplification, I'm gonna recommend that the commission find this ordinance amendment exempt from SEQA. You adopt the resolution and forward the recommendation to the city council for adoption of the development code amendment.
Do I have any questions from the commission for staff at this time?
I just had one quick question. See if I can get the number. It was in 19.28.100.
Okay, give me one moment and I'll get to it.
Page 19.
Page 19. Okay, is this the right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, 20.
On it's the 35 days for the time limit for decision. So on the actual package, it's page 19,
Gotcha.
And it's highlighted.
and it's highlighted yellow. No, you're too far up. Keep going.
I'm looking at the PDF.
Yeah.
-6. Letter G. Okay, let me get to it.
Yeah.
Oh, right there. There it is.
So I was just curious as to why the 35 days. That's kind of an oddball number.
Yeah, and that is the original. So we highlighted it because we thought it was an oddball number. So this has to do with the notices of, notices of public hearing.
So it's the time limit for a decision after the public hearing.
Yeah, we can certainly revisit that time frame. I don't think there's any legal reason why that has to be 35 days. Realistically, what this does allow you to do is you can close the public hearing, but not make a decision on it, and then come back
And have another meeting.
and have another meeting just to say, you know, for instance, a public hearing may go until 10 o'clock at night, and you can close out public hearing, but you're mandated by 35 days to make a decision.
Right.
So that's what that is intended to be. Why 35 days? I don't know, but that does put a deadline on yourself and the commission and the city council to make a decision.
It's over a month, and it gives you it gives staff a chance to look at it if there's questions from the commission or the council, and then they have to come back and take a look at it within that 35 days. And then after that, it's a denial. We've been living with it. Is there any reason to extend it? Okay.
I mean, that's a maximum number, that's not a
Yeah.
minimum number. So, that basically forces a decision, is what it does.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have any more questions? I'll be honest with you, when I was going through it, because there were 54 pages, I got lost in the minutia of
And
all the
here's a-
changes.
And.
Is there any way we can take a quick
Sure.
run through on each one, major one, and say, okay, these are the major, I know you gave a one line in the staff report, and I understand, and I don't want to be,
By the way, there's not, this is in our view, this is a cleanup item.
yeah,
This is not a urgent item in the sense that, we have to get this done today.
yeah,
But we feel like this is a good cleanup item for future reference and for supplementation. So, here's the outline in brief of the 8 modifications that we're recommending. Do you want to go through these in detail, or
Well,
do you want to, how do you want to do it? What's the pleasure?
okay, well, the one thing I had on, if we can go to 19.28.050, this is back where in approval requirements and common procedures, and the only thing I was concerned about that may come back as a question,
It's on right here.
Okay, so we're under applications for a permit, and as identified in chapters, the development code, submitted, we took away in writing. So it's submitted to the planning division in a manner approved by the community development director. So you make a decision on what is the format for each of these?
That's correct. So the reason why we struck in writing is because now we're electronic.
Yeah.
Because everything is now submitted via electronic, and, you know, that,
So you don't have to complete it on a city application?
you don't
or
have
this-
to, you don't have to submit it to us in hard copy.
Okay, all right,
That's what that's intended to be.
okay, I'm with you, all right.
And so, and it's, we want to be able to modify our forms without having to come back to the commission every time we, you know, because if we put regulations of what needs to be in the forms in the code, every time we change the form, we got to change the code.
Okay.
So we'd rather just be able to modify the forms as we need, as we see fit without having to come back.
Okay, then, the only other question I had was, could we go down to 19.32 home occupation permits?
Sure.
Because I've gone through that, but I noticed, okay, and I know massage parlors are a big issue in this town, it seems to be with the public, and I know that we've turned it over to the state now. It's whatever the state, it has to be a certified massage therapist, and they are licensed by the state, and we're, right, so we don't have our own licensing process, we pass that on
Thank
to the
goodness.
state.
Yes.
Right, got it. However, we've stated that we've eliminated, you cannot have massage as a home operation, because previously we said unless it was a certified massage practitioner. So you got a legitimate massage practitioner, she can't, or he can't, have can't run that business out of their home.
Okay, which particular,
Okay, it says here, prohibited home occupations. Let's go to 19.32.020.
020?
Thank
Okay.
you. All right. So we have prohibited home occupations, and number 3 is massage. Before it was, except if it was a certified massage practitioner. And we X that out. So we're saying somebody who is a legitimate massage practitioner cannot operate a business out of their home.
Well, and, okay, so keep in mind, if this is a home occupation, you're not
Yeah.
supposed to have clients
Okay?
going to your home.
That's why we did it.
That's why. we
Because
did
they
it.
would have clients in a waiting room, and we're trying to get away. That's
We're
it.
trying to get away from
Okay.
that. That's the same reason why beauty and barber shops, same.
So they have a legitimate massage practitioner, they're gonna have to get a storefront somewhere.
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, they can run their office out of their home.
Yeah,
They can run their books out of their home.
okay.
But what we're saying is the actual practice of that has to be not in
All right,
this.
got
at
it.
the
Well, you
home
explained it.
occupation.
That was my question.
If you have what's called an out-call massage license,
Yes,
you can go to someone else's home.
right, I know, and I know that's done, okay.
And I just want to clarify. we
Okay, so you could
changed
run the
word
office out of
field
there and run the out-call service. Okay,
So-
I was just curious as why that was, okay,
And that's, yeah, and home occupations are supposed to be invisible from the street.
right,
The home is supposed to look, act just like a home.
mhm,
You can do a home office, you can do taxes or real estate or whatever it is. It just has to act like a home,
okay.
with no advertising, no customers.
And we went over the Microsoft issue, so we're good with that. And then the only other thing I had was going down to the cottage food operations. Let's go to 19.32.070.
Yep.
I read through them all. We eliminated a lot.
And let me, and let me do a little bit of a clarification here.
Okay,
In this particular section, what we found out, by the way, there's two ways of writing a development code. One, you can, what they call pyramid, you can reference another section in one section, or you can list out everything per each chapter, okay?
okay,
So what was done previously is, under cottage food operation, it listed all the same things that any other home occupation would have to
Oh.
do.
right,
And so we're making a recommendation, you don't have to go along with it, that references the home occupation section here. Okay, you have to comply with all these provisions and what is listed below,
okay,
as opposed to listing all that in the same chapter.
Okay,
That's just a stylistic way of doing an ordinance.
okay. And then I saw the same thing in our site plan review. We eliminated a lot, so we're just, there's already an ordinance that covers.
There's another section that
Yeah,
covers.
that covers the site plan review, and so now we're just sitting there.
You have to do
you're
this
covered in that.
plus that.
And I see that, and then we reference those. Okay, that was all I had.
Okay?
Does anybody else from the commission have any other questions? Okay. Well, I'm all for efficiency and moving forward.
Okay?
If
We have
someone
to
will make
open
a,
the public hearing.
Hmm? Sorry?
Do you have to open and close the hearing?
Yeah, you have to open and close the public hearing.
oh, I'm sorry, that's right. I looked out there and All right, at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Okay, do we have anything that came in? Okay, we do not. Then at this time, I'd like to close the public hearing. And now I bring it back up to the commission.
Did you go to that slide for your recommendations?
Right there.
Yeah.
You can just say move staff's recommendation if that's too complicated.
I'll make a motion, we find the project exempt from CEQA, adopt the resolution, and forward the recommendation to city council for adoption of the development code.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Then I move into roll call vote.
Commissioner Cure?
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia?
Aye.
Commissioner Palhana?
Aye.
Vice Chair Walker?
Aye.
Chair Cruciat?
Aye.
5-0 approved.
So I move it down. Do we have any, we have nothing on the discussion or potential action items. Would the community development director like to go into an update, or would you prefer to go into our study session?
Well, I do have well, let me do the update first.
That'd be great.
It's,
Thank you.
the city council officially chose an interim city manager. Frank Lucchino has tendered his resignation. He'll be here till the end of next week.
Mhm.
Larry Bowden, I don't know if you know who that is, but he has been appointed as the interim city manager until a permanent replacement has been found. So just
Thank
putting
you.
it out there.
Okay. Then we'll go into the study session, and I'll open it up to the painted signs and statuaries.
Right, so, this is an issue that has evolved, and some of our neighboring communities have been dealing with something similar. So, I think, we're trying to get ahead of this a little bit. Here are 3 questions, well, let me preface this by saying, where did it go? I had it. Okay, so painted wall signs are expressly prohibited by our sign code. Okay, and that is this section right here. Okay, you can't get much more clear than that. Statuaries are not mentioned one way or the other as a form of advertisement. Okay, and generally speaking, if it's not listed as approved, we generally take the position that's not allowed. So here are the things I want to present to the commission for direction. Again, we don't have, this is not we're not presenting an ordinance, we're not voting on things tonight, this is just direction.
Mhm.
One is, should we revisit this section of the ordinance with regards to painted signs? The second one are their preliminary opinions, directions as to what standards and/or processes for painted signs, if we want to go down the path of allowing them. And 3 are their preliminary opinions and directions as to standards and/or processes for statuaries. And I'm going to present some local and some not so local signs that could be considered or murals that could be considered signs, maybe, and also some statuaries that we all may be familiar with, but simply are not recognized by our code. This is the Brown Bear Diner, Black Bear Diner,
Yeah.
Black Bear. They have their statuaries. I didn't see a sign on this one. That's a mural. Bob's Big Boy. They have their trademark statue with what says Big Boy on it. Another example of a big boy. This happens to be a bottling company in the Midwest, and they have a painted mural sign.
Advertisement.
I don't know what you would consider this. These are in Joshua Tree. There's a Desert Nest Company. This is right up the street. This is,
Advertising the Desert Trail.
well, is it? It used to be the Desert Trail building.
Talking about the Desert Trail being, it's more of a historic type.
Well, this is the direction we're getting to, because this actually says the Desert Trail on the Desert Trail building, and it's painted on there. Yes, it's part of a mural, but is this a sign?
Sign meaning advertisement. Oh.
And this is what this is something we're looking for direction on.
Okay.
And I think we're all familiar with the ground squirrel. This is obviously an outdated picture, because they do have the mural on the rest of the building. And then their logo and their logo was right there. Is that considered a painted sign? And Scorpion Lollipop recently put up murals. Technically, they don't have any. I wasn't able to get a picture of it for this meeting, but technically they don't have any writing on it. But they have paintings of the things that they sell inside, like a little scorpion lollipop and a bottle of wine and a bottle of beer, and and so we're kind of struggling here. And here's P.F. Chang's. These are obviously, that's a thing that P.F. Chang does. Statuaries. You know, Sinclair has their dinosaur.
Not anymore.
So, and what we've also seen, these are extremely common, and they kind of blur the line sometimes between what a sign is versus a mural.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we see there's paint on the windows as opposed to the building that says tattoo shop or hair salon or whatever, Joe's Pizza or whatever it happens to be. So, and we're all familiar with the station with their various statuaries. So, we're looking for some thoughts and directions here. Do we want to go down the path of allowing these types of advertising? And if so, and I'll go back to my questions. And I'm not looking for like a hard and fast rule right now. I'm looking for some potential
Feedback.
guidance. Should we revisit this section of the ordinance to allow for painted signs and statuaries? Are there preliminary opinions and directions as to standards, processes? Are there preliminary for painted signs and or statuaries? Currently, in our development code, we do not have any regulations whatsoever for murals. Some jurisdictions do. And so and then sometimes these signs blur the line between what is a sign and what is a mural. So we're looking for some thoughts and directions here.
A quick question, because we go to murals. So you've got Action 29, which has been approving the more historic murals that we've painted, and that's why we're called the City of Murals. There was no permitting process through the city before this? Because I know it was done, a lot of them were done before we were a city.
And there's
Yeah.
still no permitting process.
And there's still no permitting on that, okay. So as long as there's the approval of the owner of the building, and there's the Action 29 says, yes, we approve the mural? one gets painted?
Well, I don't think they're technically an approving body.
Right, they're not an approving body, but they kind of like say.
They give their they can.
Yeah. They have
Anybody
their-
can give
They have
input.
their input, okay.
Anybody can give input.
Well, then, I think for no other reason, we should look at it just to address it one way or the other. Not to take away, and I don't want to take away from the fact that, yes, I know the murals have been here, and I know a lot of people, I mean, that's one of the points we like to bring out to visit 29 Palms.
Well, and if we, and just point it out there, if we decide, if the commission's direction is we should still keep painted signs as prohibited, what do we do with those entities that did it? The ground squirrels and the, I mean, I'm sure there's others, but ground squirrels and the scorpion lollipops of the
Well,
world.
that's what I mean, we got to address it and differentiate, and I don't have an answer. I mean, I know it can be an effective form of advertising, and I don't want to take away from businesses that are doing well, and the signage helps.
Well, and
And of course, I don't want to have something where somebody has something that's so outlandish that, I don't know what the standard would be.
well,
I'm going to shut up and let somebody else talk.
and just food for thought too. I don't know if you were familiar with, and I can try to bring it up. It's one of those I think I've got on this computer, not that computer thing. If you go to, if you're familiar with the shopping center in Rancho Cucamonga called Victoria Gardens, they actually painted fake advertising on some of their buildings to make it look like an older downtown, as an artsy thing to do. And if you go to a lot of older buildings in a lot of other areas of the country, you're gonna see them. At least ones that have faded over time. So,
mean,
this is my.
I think, personally, I think there's so many already, so to take it away after is always not great, so it needs to be addressed in that way. And then maybe there's a standard for what you can do moving forward.
So our sign code does have language that, if it's a mural, it cannot have any advertising content for your business. So there is that regulation in our code.
Okay.
So a mural can't have any advertising for your business.
Those that had them was like a code violation that nobody code enforced?
That's correct.
Okay.
And it's one of those, wanna try to be, you know, if the regulations don't make sense, then we should change the regulations.
I mean-
If you're not enforcing a regulation, I mean, we've got to address it, that's my point.
So
And
question one?
that's my point.
Yes.
That's why I'm looking for
Question
directions
one
to
is
how the
yes.
commission wants us to do this.
Question one is a yes.
Question
We need
two.
to revisit the ordinance, and I think, from what I'm hearing, everybody's okay with allowing painted signs on the buildings or in windows to advertise your building. If your landowner, building owner says you can, but we need to come up with some standards and direction as to what they can and cannot do, or we're gonna wind up with some crazy buildings
Well, that's why
advertising stuff that just
Well,
doesn't.
we
I
have the
don't-
signage code to Miss Diane's point. So they worked really hard on establishing how large a sign could be, but those are like manufactured signs. We're not talking painted. So painted has blurred with this creativeness / advertisement / just look at the mirror. Yeah, art. Thank you. So that might be a little tougher than said, like, to get to.
I think you could add things of like what's prohibited in an advertisement,
nope,
no?
you cannot.
So you can't say, oh,
We
if
cannot
it's some
regulate
vulgar,
advertising
whatever
content.
thing, okay,
No.
in the painted sign.
We cannot regulate advertising content because that's the First Amendment.
So you either say you
Issue.
could advertise in the painted sign or you can't, and that's it?
What we can regulate on signage is location, size, and number.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's what we can regulate.
I mean, I think it's, like, most of the ones that have seen, I think, look great because they're integrated with their mural. But I see how it could go very wrong.
But some of them aren't integrated with a mirror at all. Like the ground squirrel one, that was there before their mural that they
Yeah.
painted on the side of the building.
Yeah,
I
the
don't-
sign, their logo came first.
It's like, I don't
Okay.
drive by the ground squirrel that
Yeah.
often, so I don't quite, in my head, envision what it looks like, but the mural and the sign, but
Yeah.
we need to set a standard for, yep, you can do this, it can't be any bigger than this type thing.
Like
Which-
the size within,
Cause if you want to build a sign and put it on a building, it has to be within a certain size and, everything. right?
Or, cause that's difficult, cause some of them are already painted, the mural art part, but you want to negate the store signage. You know what I mean? Like you're saying like, this part is great, this part, no, because it says your name and it's bigger than our sign code.
No, it's on the half of it's on the side of a building. It's gonna be bigger than the sign code allows currently, but we need to set a standard for it can't be any bigger than this. Or like the Black Bear Diner, putting those things out, the bears out in front of in front.
And I
How
want to
big
be,
are we gonna allow those to be?
well, and I want to, those are,
Like one's
Two
painted,
separate
one's
things.
statue, where he's,
so,
right?
yeah, so I think those are two very different but interrelated discussions.
So
and-
paint code, the answer to question one is yes, we should do it, but then two directions and standards is difficult.
Yes,
Distinguish which one, because someone can make an advertisement and still call it a mural, just,
and some things intentionally blur the line.
Yeah.
And so
I mean,
this is
I
something
think
we've been struggling with, and this is why we're here. And I'm just gonna throw this as a philosophical question. I mean, how artsy does 29 Palms wish itself to be? And does, by embracing, the, you've heard other places like Portland saying we're the weirdest one or whatever. Is this, does this go along those lines of being an artsy community? I don't know.
I mean, isn't the point of was the downtown to create an art district?
Well, it is, but I don't know if I want to, and this is a question, do we limit this to the downtown, or
Yeah,
can Dollar General or Taco Bell?
yeah.
I believe I went to what's that chicken strip place? There's a
Raising
fast food
Cane's?
chicken strip,
Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's.
Raising Cane's, yeah. So I went to a Raising Cane's in the Palm Springs area once, and one of their entire sides on their drive-through was nothing but one big mural of Raising Cane.
Well, would statuaries be like temporary, like Halloween or Santa decor on your
I think we can make that
rooftop,
distinction.
or-
I mean,
okay.
temporary Santa Clauses and inflatable snowmen and
Or
stuff
like
like that.
Michelin Man or whatever, or what, like, those kind of things could be like a, whatever.
Those can be done separately. I mean, seasonal promotions and things like that, I think that's an easy thing to distinguish.
I feel like statuaries are a lot easier to start at, 'cause you can go by size, whether something's temporary or something's permanently put in.
Those big boy statues are huge.
Yeah.
So a permitting process, and then a public hearing, and the public can yay or nay them? Can
I'm
we
throwing
even
it out
write a
there.
code where we get that much like, you know what I mean? It would have to be so you either find it or you don't find it. It's either approved by the code or not approved by the code.
Can I ask, I would just want to follow up on one thing. You mentioned that what we can do is we can set size, color, standards, but
Not color.
we cannot talk about content.
You
So
cannot
if somebody
regulate
wanted to
content.
paint something extremely offensive, one way or another, there's no,
You drive through, and Diane is very familiar with this, you drive through Yuck on 62, and you're gonna see a big sign that says XXX.
oh, okay. Well, just
That's-
3 X's,
that's-
that's just telling what it is. I mean, if somebody had a really offensive picture on there or a hardcore painting, you're
But
saying
I'm
that you can't say anything against, there's nothing that the community can do.
No, it's sign codes have to be content neutral. So you can regulate the location and the size of the sign, but
Right.
not the content.
Okay, just
And-
wanted to
and it'll
confirm
even be
that.
the
The
location
All right.
and
community,
number
the
of
community
events.
backlash would be nobody goes to that business because they're offending the whole community, and then they lose their business. So that would have to be how the community solves that problem.
Right,
as
because
the
you could be
city-
offended by something that I'm not offended by, and so that's left
But
to interpretation.
as a city, we can't say, no, you can't put this, but you can put this. But we can tell them how big it can be and the location of where it can be. Which I
Yeah.
think it shouldn't be a terribly difficult task to do, to come up with some language that kind of gives direction as to how big these painted signs could be.
And
Well,
I-
and
Sh-
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just ask your opinion, should the painted signs adhere to the same size regulations as the other, like a non-painted sign, at a wall sign? Should the sizes just be the same, regulation be the same as what we currently have?
I,
Is there a need to allow painted signs to be larger?
Or should we do something to the effect of, if you want to have a painted sign, like a normal sign, quote unquote, normal sign, attached sign goes through an administrative process, and the painted sign over a certain size goes through a CUP or something like that. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing spitballs.
to start, that might be a good place to start, and then anything over that would need a CUP to get approved to do.
Yeah, in a
But-
public hearing.
But
and-
the built-in signs is not that huge, if I'm remembering correctly.
Based off the square footage of your frontage of your property.
So currently for the murals, is there a process?
No,
So you could just do whatever mural you want?
you can do whatever you want on
Unless-
private buildings.
But a mural is, you're not advertising for your business.
I know, but in a mural, that's what he's saying, is like, if the mural is basically a scene that represents what your business is that considered advertising?
This
or
is
is
the,
it
this
not?
is, this is the
And
tricky part
therefore-
we're getting into.
Even if it doesn't say something, right, it's not saying the name.
Well, I mean, the eye
Is that
doctor place,
considered-
it's a huge, but that's a historic, situation, but it happens to also be the eye doctor place.
I think the fact that that the downtown is supposed to be an art district, like, it makes sense to have that happen.
Does the commission want to have a process for murals? Do you want to have murals come before the planning commission and have you approve them?
Well, we have a public arts commission, right?
We do.
Yeah,
With no approval.
but they have no approval or authority.
They have no
but
approval authority because
right.
that would be a process through the planning commission.
I mean, I think it just
I
makes
mean,
it
we
difficult.
can write the ordinance to say something to that effect. I mean, that'd have to go through again, be blessed by the city council to do that.
I think it makes it difficult if you're gonna do a mural and you don't have the realization that your mural is maybe advertising. Not everyone is gonna think, oh, I'm drawing a picture of that, and then so you have to approve it, or you don't, I don't know, it just seems,
Well, then
and-
that's
and-
limiting
exactly.
And we've drawn an administrative line that says if you're painting, like corner 62, as the example, we allowed that to occur. We consider that a mural because it's not advertising, it's just the name of the building. But I think that's a line that someone could conceivably argue. I mean, no
because
one
it's the
has, but
corner,
you could,
because it's the corner of 62?
because
Or
that's the name of the building.
Or that's the name of the company
That's
that
the name of the
runs.
building.
Well, then Ground Squirrel named their building Ground Squirrel.
I-
You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
I
Then-
know, and it's, we go into these weird
Yeah.
thought processes.
Well, then, so you're looking for guidance, so we're saying, okay, we want to have a draft something that differentiates between an artistic mural and an advertising mural?
And there's been
I'm
an issue now.
I'm throwing some things, and then you want to have us, we want to address statuary.
Yeah, so you wanna take these one thing at a time, so you wanna do, statuaries seem to be a little bit easier.
So you can regulate signs a lot easier within trying to figure out the difference between a mural and an advertisement painted. A statue's a statue.
But how large?
Yeah, then that's big, like, what's the size of the ones in front of, the Big Bear or the Black Bear Diner? Was the,
That I don't know.
Like 5 feet, 4 feet?
They have a lot of different ones. I just pulled that one off the internet. They have, some that are probably 5 feet, 6 feet tall. They have some that are 2 feet tall. But restaurants have different statues.
Well, and, you know, here's
I
PF
think,
Chang's.
like, if you're gonna have, you just say if it's over a certain size, then it has to get approved,
yeah.
if it's a
Okay.
permanent statue.
Can,
That one was-
yeah,
Yeah, that one's,
that one.
But,
Oh,
you
is it
know,
gone?
we're just, I'm bringing up examples for us to discuss, so.
I would like to reach a consensus on direction here. I know we're going, it seems like we've,
I think
That's
we're
real
having
easy
a
to
good
do.
yeah,
discussion.
yeah.
And believe me, we've had very similar discussions
Yeah.
internally with staff about the same subject, so.
I mean, I think if the mural has the name of the place, it is an advertisement, but I feel like it should be allowed, that's my opinion. Because it's the name, we wanna promote businesses and, I mean, the art district already, that's, I
But,
think,
but does that make it art, or does that make it a sign?
well, okay.
Well, if it's done for advertising, it makes it
That's
a
their
sign.
point.
And then,
Yeah,
again,
that's
I
what
want to
they're running
differentiate
into.
between our
So-
artistic mural and
I think
one
it
that's
makes it
done
a
for
mural,
advertising.
and you just say that the mural can allow for this. If it's anything outside of that in terms of writing, then that needs to be approved.
But
As an
you have,
advertisement?
you can't, the content, like, you
Yeah.
could do a mural about the salt mines, but is that advertising for the salt mines? Like, just because you wanna do this beautiful,
I know, so
elaborate
I think
thing.
it should be fine to have the mural be an advertisement in the words that can be used. You're saying you can't limit the words, you can't just say, you could put the name of the store and that's the only words you can use, because that would be limiting the advertisement.
That's not what we're saying. So
Uh-huh.
if you paint a mural, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
You paint some picture and it has advertising content.
Yeah.
That makes it a sign. So whether you paint a pretty beach picture and you put, you know, whatever your name of your store is, that, the whole thing then becomes a sign.
Yeah.
You agree?
I agree, but I think that should be, it shouldn't be limited to the signage size that is currently the sign.
So so I'm hearing what the thought process is that if you want to do a painted sign, we're gonna have different size requirements than a normal attached sign?
well, cause you say that it's okay that the mural has the name in it, but she just said the picture has the name in it, and that's a sign. And if you agree to that, is it a mural or is it a sign? So we're back to the
I
square
mean,
one.
I think it's a mural. I think it's a mural. So,
But it's drawing attention to that specific building for the purpose of the ground squirrel.
yeah,
or
advertising.
it's advertising your building. Now, if I paint a pretty beach picture on another building and it's nothing to do with my business, is about the beach, fine and dandy, I painted a pretty picture about a beach, right? But I'm not drawing attention to bring people to my building because they see this pretty beach picture, like, oh, I bet you they sell beach stuff in there. And they come in and I don't sell a single thing for the beach, but I'm not advertising.
Yeah.
I just painted a pretty picture.
But the example you keep putting up is of Prudy and Bill Underhill starting the Desert Trail back in
Whenever,
1931, 32. I mean, they were original. That was done for historic. That has, it didn't make people run out and buy the Desert Trails. Maybe it
Right.
did, I don't know. But I know why that was put up there, and that
Well-
wasn't as an advertising intent.
The-
I know,
Again,
but-
and so
It does intent matter then?
I get back to, so
I mean,
like the ground squirrel was in violation because they painted a mural that violated our existing sign ordinance.
They painted a painted sign of their business name on the side of their building.
Yeah,
That
and it
is,
violated it because,
The current ordinance,
right, not, and
dictates-
No painted signs is current.
that's what the current code. Have other businesses done it? Yes.
yeah.
Are we in disagreement with that? No, we like it. No, we don't like it. But how do you put a code on it and enforce it?
Yeah, well, that's
the
why
same as
we're,
with our
that's why
sign
we're
code.
addressing it.
the
Th-
same
this
as
is
with
why
our
we're here.
built-in,
That's why we're
sign
here.
code. It's the built-in sign code for the eye care center or Desert Cycle Works is there's a standard. You have to adhere to that standard. And if you want to go above or out of that standard, you have to come and get a conditional use permit to build a sign that is out of that standard. It's not,
Great.
I mean, we just need to come up with the standard and say this is for painted building signs or window signs, painted window signs. This is the standard. If you want to go above or outside of the standard, you need a conditional use permit. Chances are, we're not gonna say no unless it's some atrocious, crazy thing.
But that
Well,
would be to whose discretion?
Yeah, so then you need to include that it's this painted mural piece is considered the sign. So they don't just go paint a mural and say, that's not a sign, it's a mural.
We could put a definition of a mural, which is a non-advertisement piece of artwork on a building, and a sign, which is an advertisement for a specific building purpose, business purpose. That's an advertisement.
I think you're on the right track. If it's something that it's outside of the signage code and it's painted, which currently says no, but it can be, and those that have them can just come and apply, do the CUP.
Well,
Whatever
and-
term limits you have, are they gonna like renew yearly, or you just however you wanna put on the code?
Well, and from what I understand, this is all before a lot of us were here, the purpose of the prohibition was that businesses change. Okay? So what is now the Ground Squirrel 10 years from now could be Joe's Pizza. But they're stuck with a Ground Squirrel painted sign.
No, well, the issue is like,
Well,
the
stuck
Ground Squirrel
why?
has rented the building from the owner, and that can be negotiated in a new lease, or, I mean, if a new business goes in, they're either going to say, yep, I've got to change that sign.
Yeah.
I think that's really getting, I want to bring this back to a consensus where we give you some direction.
Yeah. And
Unless you
again, I
want some
wasn't
more
trying to defend,
discussion.
I was just explaining.
Yeah, I think what Max said works.
I think what he says work, and I think that the issue that will arise is that people will want to paint murals and think that they're not an advertisement, and then it could be seen as an advertisement if it has things that are in that story.
Well,
And-
it's more of a painted sign
That's
that
going
we're
to be the
addressing
issue.
as having a painted sign with the CUP should it be larger than what we currently
Yeah.
have in the signage.
I agree with that.
Something, so what I'm hearing is we have different standards for painted signs. Is what I think the consensus is. And then you have a level of approval process. If it's under a certain size, then we approve it administratively or something, and then if it's over a certain size, then it has to go to before the planning commission, something along those lines.
I think you have good guidance for a draft ordinance that we can take a look at.
Okay. And then, statuaries. Do you wanna do something similar along?
I think that you can look at
Yes.
what's been done in the past and do a draft ordinance on statuary based upon, and that will give us something to start with. Otherwise, we're gonna be talking in circles again.
Yeah, cause
Yeah,
I realize this is an open-ended.
yeah.
and
I
then-
think it's good
a work in
perspective
progress.
to get everyone's opinion.
Well, yeah, and I don't wanna hit you guys cold with this.
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't mean to do that. I mean, it's conceivable that some new restaurant that we've never heard of before, or a video arcade is gonna come in and they wanna put up a statue of Pac-Man. I don't know. Okay.
Anything else? Can I close this? And can we move into our homeless committee and updates?
Yes, I believe we can, if that's the direction.
Yeah, do we have direction? Any more comments? Then yes, let's move on.
Okay. Okay. So, we do have our two other members of our Housing and Homeless
Mhm.
Committee here. And I wanted to give